In every society, groups are divided into social classes. Social classes are groups of people in a society that are separated by who receives more benefits and power over other people. In order to define each class, there are certain criteria that must be met, which includes your income, your influence over other people, and many other factors. There are two different types of statuses. One is a scribe status and the other is a chief status. A scribe status is the social class you were born into, and you are judged on your class based on your gender, race, and your age. They use this in Eastern Indian societies when they follow their caste system.
Canadians believe that someone's social status is reflected upon achieved status rather than ascribed status. Achieved status is when we earn our rewards through personal merit, effort, and hard work. Everyone is born with an equal opportunity, but may be hard to advance economically and achieve a higher status if you were born into a poor family. Therefore, some groups in Canada are assigned as ascribed status, which prevents them from achieving economically.
Sociologists have identified four major social classes. Number one is the wealthy upper class, which takes up 3 to 5% of Canada's population, and most of their income derives from inherited wealth and their own fortunes. The second one is middle class, which is someone's income and the kinds of goods and services they are able to afford with a sense of control over them, and most Canadians associate themselves as middle class. Number three is the working class, which is a product of industrialization. These workers are also known as blue-collar workers and require little training jobs that are paid less than middle-class jobs. And lastly is the poor. The poor makes up 20% of Canada's population, and some poor people earn just enough to pay the basic necessities they need to survive, but others can't get a job due to having a disability, lack of training, age, and family responsibilities.
What is poverty? Poverty is a general scarcity or state of one who lacks a certain amount of material possessions or money. There are two types of poverty. The first is absolute poverty, which is the deprivation of basic resources needed to survive. The second is relative poverty, which is measuring the deprivation of some people against those who have more. In Canada, we use a system of measuring relative poverty called the Low Income Cutoff Line. By using this measurement, Statistics Canada can determine what percentage of Canada's population can be classified as poor. Canada is one of the wealthiest nations in the world, yet 20% of Canadians suffer from this poverty.
Some people are referred to as the working poor, meaning they don't earn too much income, but they are able to afford some basic necessities needed from their minimum wage jobs. The number of working poor keeps increasing since low-paying and part-time jobs are growing than other kinds of jobs. Although a significant number of poor people are also homeless, which means that they live on the streets. Some homeless people are homeless due to running away from their homes, being unskilled or unemployed, and being an alcoholic or addicted to drugs. At least 200,000 Canadians a year are homeless. This causes public concern, especially during the bad weather living outside. Unfortunately, there's only been little action done. Many cities have opened up a homeless shelter, food banks, and churches that are willing to open up for a homeless person to have a meal and a place to sleep.
Since poverty takes up 20% of Canada's population, who is at risk? People who have a physical or mental disability, being part of a single-parent family, having less than a high school education, being single and not living with family, as well as children, seniors, young people, and women who have a 49% chance of being poor while men have a 33% chance.
Living in poverty has a high negative impact on a person's health. Homeless people tend to get sick more often, which leads to a shorter lifespan, and they do not eat nutritiously, which can affect a child's growth, mental development, and energy level. Children from poor families usually are less likely to stay in school due to not being able to pay tuition fees, and long-term poverty can destroy a person's sense of hope and initiative to survive.
Child poverty. Child poverty refers to the phenomenon of children who live in poverty. This applies to children that come from poor families or being raised with limited or in some cases absent state resources. According to UNICEF, more than 15% of Canadian children are living in poverty.
What is Canada doing to fight poverty? Canada had created a social welfare system over the course of the 20th century. This system includes employment insurance for those who are put out of work and those who need longer-term support, such as single parents without any work and those with disabilities that prevent them from working. Also, there are many foundations that try to decrease the risk of poverty, such as Salvation Army, Feed the Children, and many more. How does this overall affect and influence our social studies course? This chapter influences our social studies course since it revolves around what makes us human, our behavior, and our overall mentality. It shows how we are human by seeing all the poverty in Canada and trying to spread awareness and help towards it. Also, social classes and poverty can impact the way people behave when they approach someone from a different class. It also affects the mentality of an individual due to their living situations and the needs that are met.